In our headlines on this Friday, October 25th, Russian President Vladimir Putin appears to acknowledge the presence of North Korean troops in Russia by simply asserting it is up to Moscow and Pyongyang to chart the future course of the alliance. Meanwhile, in the Arab world, mediators resume efforts to ensure a ceasefire deal between Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas as civilians in Gaza continue to bear the brutal brunt of the callous conflict. Here on the local front, a flower festival is in full bloom this fall over in Hwasun-gun County in the southern part of Korea, offering visitors a chance to celebrate the vibrant colors amid the refreshing autumn breeze. We start with an ambiguous response by Russian leader Vladimir Putin regarding the presence of North Korean troops in Russia for military training, which has prompted harsh condemnation from the U.S. Our Kim Jong-sil starts us off.
The Pentagon slammed Russian President Vladimir Putin just a day after the U.S. confirmed 3,000 North Korean troops had been deployed to Russia.
This really highlights Russia's desperation. Tin cupping to the DPRK, to Iran, enticing DPRK soldiers, if they were to ever enter the fight. I think that shows that Putin has failed in his strategic objectives on the battlefield.
The Pentagon response came amid Putin's remarks regarding the North Korean soldiers in his country for the first time. At the BRICS summit on Thursday, the Russian leader said this.
We never doubted the leadership of North Korea treats our agreement seriously. But what we will do and how we will do it is up to us. We are in touch with our North Korean friends, and we will see how this process develops.
The first North Korean troops deployed to Russia have reportedly been stationed in Kursk, a region bordering Ukraine, intensifying focus on the ongoing conflict there. Ukraine's military claims that the initial group of North Korean soldiers trained in Russia was spotted on the front lines in Kursk as of Wednesday. Experts in South Korea warned that if North Korean soldiers do engage in combat, they could face heavy losses.
There's talk that North Korea lacks combat experience, and there's a language barrier and unfamiliarity with the terrain. While Russia has a technical and military advantage, it also relies on highly inefficient tactics. Look at what they're doing in Donbass. Now, Russia may send North Korean soldiers to defend Kursk or whatever else. It may work, but it will come with heavy losses.
Meanwhile, South Korea and the U.S. are set to hold their 56th Security Consultative meeting next Wednesday in Washington to address the troop deployment issue. South Korean Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun and U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin will lead the talks. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
North Korea's mission to the United Nations has rejected claims of illicit arms cooperation with Russia, calling them baseless rumors. Now, during a session of the UN General Assembly's Disarmament Committee on Thursday, local time, North Korean officials condemned concerns to this end raised by South Korea, the UK and Ukraine. They call the claims false, adding that such assertions seek to derail North Korea's diplomatic ties with sovereign states. Now, South Korea's mission to the UN, for its part, also called on North Korea and Russia to halt their violations of international obligations. Shuttle diplomacy is actively taking place in Egypt and Qatar as efforts to ensure a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas resume. Our Lee Seung-jae covers the latest efforts.
Despite months of stalled negotiations between Israel and Hamas, a breakthrough in talks may be in the works. According to Egypt's state-run Al-Qahira News TV on Thursday, an Egyptian security delegation is hosting a delegation of Hamas leaders in Cairo in the hope of resuming ceasefire negotiations. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed Egypt's push for a deal that would release hostages being held in Gaza. Egypt and Qatar had been mediating between Hamas and Israel before ceasefire talks broke down in August. In another push to revive the talks, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Qatar on Thursday. There, he called on Hamas to agree to a deal that would finally end the fighting in Gaza.
And of course, we're working intensely to make sure that this conflict doesn't spread We don't have wider wars. And all of this, perhaps, will focus Hamas on the imperative of concluding a deal. If it cares about the people of Gaza, then it will engage, and it will conclude some kind of agreement.
Blinken also stressed that a ceasefire deal would ensure the withdrawal of Israeli forces in Gaza so that the Palestinians can rebuild their lives and their future without Hamas. Despite the prospect of a resumption of ceasefire talks, an Israeli airstrike on a school building in Gaza on Thursday killed at least 17 people. According to Reuters, the Israeli strike targeted the Al-Shuhada school in the Nushirat refugee camp, while the Hamas-run government media office said the school was being used as a shelter for displaced Palestinians. Israel says it was a Hamas command center. 9 children were among those killed, including an 11-month-old baby. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in the U.S., new polls show the race to the White House between Democratic candidate Kamala Harris and her Republican counterpart Donald Trump is indeed looking too close for comfort for both contenders. Our Yoon-jin has the latest.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are both scrapping for every undecided voter, especially in the swing states where they are neck and neck. Forbes reports that at least 6 surveys from over the past week show Harris to have a narrow advantage, while 3 others found Trump to have a slim lead. A survey of registered voters by CNBC and another by the Wall Street Journal show Trump to be ahead by 2 percentage points, each with a margin of error of at least 2.5%. According to the latest Bloomberg News and Morning Consult tracking poll for the week of October 16th, the 2 candidates are tied with 49% among likely voters in the 7 swing states, with the poll's overall statistical margin of error only at 1 percentage point. Bloomberg News and Morning Consult have been polling likely voters on a monthly basis for the past year. Their data shows that among registered voters across the 7 swing states, support for Trump has been consistent, never falling below 47% or rising above 49%. For Harris, her sudden leap into the presidential campaign in July started with a big jump, but her lead has now narrowed. And what keeps it a tight contest is that while Harris has made inroads with the so-called double haters of Biden and Trump, there are now new double haters against her and Trump, among whom she trails by 18 percentage points. Vice President Kamala Harris continued her campaign trail in Georgia on Thursday. The rally was her first with former President Barack Obama. Also in attendance were musician Bruce Springsteen, director Spike Lee, and actor Samuel L. Jackson. Music icon Beyoncé is reported to be appearing alongside Kamala Harris at a rally on Friday in Houston. Beyoncé's song Freedom has often been played at Harris's campaign events, but this will be the singer's first actual appearance. Harris is still expected to appear with Michelle Obama on Saturday in Michigan, another heavily weighted swing state. Meanwhile, Donald Trump took his campaign trail out west to the battleground states of Arizona and Nevada. And at his Nevada event, he specifically attempted to appeal to the state's Asian American population. According to Silver Bulletin data released on Thursday, Harris currently leads in Michigan, Nevada, and Wisconsin, while Trump is ahead in North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, and the 2 are tied in Pennsylvania. But all 7 of the swing states show margins in the single digits, keeping the race tight. Yoon-jin, Arirang News.
Come Monday next week, senior diplomats from South Korea, Japan and China will sit down in Tokyo for talks on advancing trilateral cooperation. Deputy Foreign Minister Chung Byung-won will meet with his Chinese and Japanese counterparts, Sun Wei-dong and Takehiro Funakoshi, respectively. On the agenda of the upcoming gathering are plans for a trilateral summit among their leaders in Japan next year. Back in May, the 3 countries spoke of a top-level meeting to expand 3-way economic interactions. Today, that is October 25th, is Dokdo Day here in South Korea, and related celebrations are taking place across the country. Also at the National Assembly, lawmakers across the aisle came together to mark the occasion. During the event, People Power Party lawmaker Na Kyung-won stressed the importance of such celebrations to remind people about the significance of protecting sovereign territory. Ulleungdo in the EC also held its first annual Dokdo Day ceremony on this Friday afternoon. Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok has hinted at a possible downward revision of Korea's economic growth forecast for this year. Remarks to this end were shared at a press conference in Washington, D.C. on Thursday local time. They also follow recent findings of a lower than expected economic expansion for the third quarter at 0.1% on quarter, owing to an ease in auto exports. The government's current economic growth projection for Korea this year stands at 2.6%. A flower festival is in full bloom this fall over in Hwasun-gun County in the southern part of Korea, offering visitors a chance to celebrate the vibrant colors of nature amid the autumn breeze. Our Park Gun-woo was there.
UNESCO's World Heritage Dolmen site in Hwasun-gun County in southwest South Korea gets more special in the autumn. That's because the 2.3 million square meter area, similar in size to over 3,000 football fields, gets partially filled with many different kinds of flowers as part of the Hwasun Dolmen Fall Flower Festival. As you can see, this festival has a variety of vibrant colored fall flowers blossoming in this spacious area, allowing people to take nice selfies here. Beautiful flowers from golden sunflowers to delicate cosmos and chrysanthemums are just some of the flowers you can enjoy. A total of 10 different flowers that bloom in autumn are on display at the site, with special artwork also intriguing visitors.
I really like how they make different kinds of animals with flowers. So I took a lot of pictures. I'll come here every year as long as I'm alive.
It's really cute, so coming here so relaxed. I was first time watching, it's really good.
It's great to spend time with my family in this wonderful weather with a gentle breeze.
The festival also captures the interest of visitors with its signature snacks for sale at an outdoor cafe in front of a large sunflower field. One of the most popular desserts was the all-black ice cream, created to commemorate the region's coal mine which closed last year. It has a sweet taste, but is also salty to express the saltiness of a miner's sweat. And due to the recent reading craze following South Korean writer Han Kang's Nobel Prize win, a zone was also created near the dolmens for people to read and relax.
The festival was planned to promote the cultural heritage of Hwasun, and we are aiming to develop various dolmen-related programs to make this a bigger festival.
With a target of bringing in around 200,000 people to the event just this year, the Fall Flower Festival runs until November 3rd. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News, Hwasun.
Meanwhile, it's been roughly 2 weeks since German public broadcaster RBB launched the country's first radio program solely dedicated to K-pop. Our culture correspondent Song Yu-jin reports.
저스틴 팀페와 함께하는 프리트 최고의 음악 K-Pop.
What you just heard is Germany's first regular K-pop radio show, Beste Musik K-Pop. Fritz, a radio station under a public broadcaster, und Funk Berlin Brandenburg, officially launched the show on October 14th. It's the product of months of collaboration between RBB and the Korean Cultural Center, Germany. Justin Timpe is the show's host and producer. He fell in love with K-pop after first listening to BTS 10 years ago.
So perfectly produced, everything, like the music videos, like also the styles. They try new things, which I never heard before. Like, you would never go and put a bit classic into a rap part and then a bit R&B, and then at the end we have pop.
Justin is involved in every step of the show, from researching trends to curating playlists, making sure the program is open to all listeners.
What I do is I look, what stars do we have over here? Like Dua Lipa, Coldplay, Bruno Mars. And then I check to what kind of K-pop songs do we have, which are very similar to them, and try to make the example. Like, hey, we have Dua Lipa. In Korea, you have someone else, like Jeon So-mi.
The 2-hour show offers more than just music. It introduces Korean dramas, films, and food, and features interviews with emerging K-pop artists. The response has been beyond expectations.
The day afterwards, I came to the station and people were overwhelming and they were saying, Justin, we never had a show with so much people writing us. This 2 hours of the first show really put in together everything we can hear and see from the K-pop scene.
Germany wasn't always the playground for the Korean wave. Asian dramas were rarely aired on TV, and K-pop was largely seen as niche culture. But now, that's changing.
K-pop's global rise has ignited interest here, and streaming services now allow instant access to Korean content for German viewers. RBB is one of the major broadcasters in the Berlin region, with Fritz attracting around 183,000 daily listeners. The launch of this program shows that K-pop is becoming part of the mainstream in Germany.
Justin hopes the show will be more than just a place to play music. He wants it to become a community for listeners.
They can talk not only with me, but also with the community, with the other people, about what's going on in their K-pop universe. I want to make K-pop more, let's say, closer, so that also people who are not into the scene directly can tune in and know what is K-pop.
If you want to know more about K-pop and Korea, tune into Beste Musik K-Pop every other Monday at 8 p.m. local time. 송유진, Arirang News.
Veteran Korean actress Kim Soo-mi passed away earlier on this Friday. She was 75 years old. According to authorities at Seoul Socho police station, she suffered a cardiac arrest at her home this morning and was rushed to hospital but pronounced dead. Since this past May, Kim had been on a break owing to exhaustion from a hectic work schedule. She debuted in the year 1971 and became especially popular for playing the role of an elderly woman in her 60s despite being in her 30s at the time. The TV drama Fields of Home, also known as Chonwon Ilgi in Korean, aired for almost 22 years starting in 1980. Researchers here are turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences like visits to exhibitions. Our Cha Yun-kyung explains.
People with visual impairments often struggle when visiting exhibitions without audio material, and so researchers have developed a service robot that provides a docent-like explanation while moving alongside the participant. The service robot relies on a haptic feedback system, allowing blind people to control it with their hands. The autonomous robot determines the best route to any exhibit that the person in control of it wishes to go to while avoiding obstructions. Its speed can also be controlled manually.
People can increase and decrease the speed through the haptic device as much as they want. We are in the middle of the process of developing a navigation service for robots to guide people safely.
The research team carried out verification tests at Gwangju's Haegwang School and is set to provide a customized exhibition service for the visually impaired at Gwangju National Science Museum next year after upgrading the robot technology.
Blind people were only able to attend exhibitions with the help of those who provide guide services like docents at museums. Now I expect that people with visual impairments can also enjoy exhibitions actively.
The advanced robot technology is raising expectations of helping blind people to have cultural experiences without barriers. Cha Yun-kyung, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. Following Wednesday's deadly attack on a state-run aerospace defense firm, Türkiye launched airstrikes on Kurdish-held parts of Syria and Iraq later the same day. According to its intelligence agency, Türkiye on Thursday continued airstrikes on Kurdistan Workers' Party targets in Syria and Iraq, a separatist militant organization that the Turkish government blamed for Wednesday's attack in Ankara that killed 5 and injured 22. Turkish Defense Minister Yasar Güler said 29 PKK targets had been hit in northern Iraq and 18 in northern Syria, which the country's national intelligence organization said were the militant group's strategic locations. The Syrian Democratic Forces said at least 12 people were killed, including 2 children, while 25 others were injured. The SDF was a key ally to the US in the war against ISIS in the region. As yet, no group has claimed responsibility for Wednesday's attack, although Turkish authorities identified the 2 assailants who were killed at the scene as members of the PKK. Moving over to the Philippines, Tropical Storm Trami wreaked havoc as it made landfall on the northeastern coast of the country on Thursday, with at least 26 people killed and forcing some 150,000 others to evacuate. The storm made landfall on Thursday on the main island of Luzon, the country's most populated island, where it dumped torrential rain, causing widespread flooding and landslides. The storm, locally known as Christine, brought maximum sustained wind speeds of 95 kilometers per hour as it moved westward through the region of Cordillera and toward the South China Sea. Now it moved off the country's northwest coast early Friday, but remains on course toward China's Hainan and Vietnam's Da Nang, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. Aerospace company Boeing has failed to reach a deal with its striking workers after the workers' union rejected Boeing's 35% pay rise offer. The International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers Union on Wednesday said that 64% of its members voted to reject the company's latest offer, which promised a 35% raise over a period of 4 years. Over 30,000 Boeing workers are taking part in the strike, which began on September 13th. Now, Boeing's new CEO, Kelly Ortberg, said on Wednesday that the company is saddled with too much debt as losses surged to some $6 billion and that the firm was at a crossroads as production remains halted. Scientists say they have developed an artificial intelligence algorithm capable of decoding sounds made by pigs to interpret their emotions and help farmers improve their welfare. According to one of the study's leaders, behavioral biologist Elodie Mandel-Briefer from the University of Copenhagen, the AI algorithm can alert farmers to positive and negative emotions in pigs. Scientists from Denmark, Germany, Switzerland, France, Norway, and the Czech Republic use thousands of recorded pig sounds in different conditions to code the algorithm. Kim Soo-mi, Arirang News.
Today, temperatures rose rapidly during the day under clear autumn skies. Tomorrow, inland areas will be a little cloudy and temperatures will be mild during the day. However, there will be some rain on Jeju Island and the coastal areas of Jeollanam-do province. On Sunday, the rain is expected to expand to the southern parts of the country and continue into early next week. There will be strong winds on the south coast and Jeju Island today. To prevent accidents, please check whether anything that could be blown away is secured down. Tomorrow, Seoul will start off at 12 degrees Celsius, Daejeon and Daegu 13 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 24 in Seoul, Gwangju and Busan, Chuncheon and Gyeongju 22 degrees. If you keep in mind the big daily temperature differences this weekend, it will be great to be active outside. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the top stories at this hour here in South Korea. Thank you for watching, but do stay tuned for our daily panel session.